5 DR Basics setups in under 10 minutes. Here's what August had to offer on crude oil. Tuesday, 5th August 2025, regular DR session on crude oil. Crude oil confirmed longs early after the defining range has formed. Since all three DR sessions expand in its sizes, a DR range expansion model is intact. The one standard deviation level as a target lines up perfectly with the overnight DR session mid. But careful! What else is there that shouldn't be ignored? A DR downside model is intact, where you should definitely lower your expectations for the session, given also the red DR box. Price is currently rejecting the overnight DR session lows, already alarming. A few moments later, it retraces back into the defining range and rejects the opening price. An open magnetic volume imbalance and the one standard deviation level give confluences to take a trade, which unfortunately ends up in a loss. As price trades lower, it reaches into the perfect retirement setup area. It seems like the DR downside model is being heavily respected, where you can think about reducing the risk to only 0.5 R for a second trade and lower your target expectations as well to a new high. This would align with the overnight session lows, and if the trade succeeds, you would have mitigated your first loss and ended the session in profit. Thursday, 7th August 2025, 2 shots in one regular DR session. The regular DR session confirmed shorts. Based on DR models, it's hard to define any, since the overnight DR session is smaller than the aftermarket DR session, and either a DR upside nor a downside model are intact. Following the red DR box and a short confirmation, you can look for shorts here. Look for assisting things like the aftermarket DR session levels that line up with the current range, but don't forget to highlight intraday and daily gap imbalances as well. Few minutes later, a nice rejection from the aftermarket session lows, the opening price and the daily gap imbalance. 3 are if targeting the one standard deviation level, worth taking a shot. After reaching the plus 0.5 SD level, price retraces deeper into the range, stops you out and almost reaches for the retirement setup area. A closer look reveals 2 sharp rejections from the ADR mid. This level stays important throughout the whole trading day. You can learn everything about the aftermarket session by joining my M7DR Academy. Price also fails to close below the middle of the range, and an open magnetic volume imbalance supports a trade idea. While this trade is more of an aggressive approach, you can wait for more confirmations like price closing back below the gap imbalances, and then take your shot with stops above the middle of the range and end the session with more than 2 R profit. Amazing how a few DR Basics annotations on the chart can give you a clearer picture. Tuesday, 19th August 2025, overnight DR session, 2 shots, 2 kills. The 4:35 AM candle confirmed shorts in the overnight session. With the red DR box and a DR downside model intact, you want to trade into the short direction, since the probabilities are in your favor. 3 gap imbalances located at the top of the overnight defining range are acting as a strong barrier for price to confirm a DR fall session. Price will most likely have a hard time to break through that during the session. A few minutes later, price expands to the 2 standard deviation level before it retraces back into the defining range, where it rejects the mid of the range and the closing price. Enough time to plan and execute a trade, targeting a new low at least for more than 4 R. If that's not enough, you get a deeper retracement after price made a new low, and price rejects the IDR high and the clustered area with gap imbalances. With those rejections, definitely worth taking the risk here, with stops well above the defining range high, targeting a new low for the DR downside model continuation. And so it does. Price reaches a new low right after the overnight session ended. A great reminder to pay attention to the intraday gap imbalances. Thursday, 21st August 2025, regular DR session trade. A very interesting session right here. The regular DR session confirmed longs with a green DR box, and a DR range expansion model is intact. All the signs are there. With a DR range expansion model being intact, the target is already set with a high probability without even looking into data. Bonus here. It perfectly aligns for a trumpet-like price action scenario where both sides of the market are being played. Going with the DR Basics approach, you want to highlight all the things that can assist you with decision making. This should be already done before the confirmation has happened. The aftermarket session levels are absolutely critical throughout the day, and if they align with the current trading range, highlight them by any means. The highs, the mid, and the lows, all of them. From previous days or weeks, you can add others that align as well. If that's not enough, 2 intraday gap imbalances from the aftermarket session also line up. I can't repeat it enough. Focus on the aftermarket intraday gap imbalances. Based on everything there is on the chart, there are 2 possible ways to play the session. One more aggressive approach and another one, if the first fails, would most likely present in the retirement setup area. The next 5 minutes aggressively drop into the range but stop at the aftermarket session mid. A perfect buying opportunity. The rejections are clear from this area. You have 2 options for your stop loss. One more aggressive below the aftermarket levels, or another one below the mid of the range for a safer approach. Both work. A perfect range expansion model turning into a trumpet-like price action with the aftermarket session levels and intraday gap imbalances guiding the way to a successful trading session. Monday, 25th August 2025, explosive expansion out of a DR range contraction. Monday's aftermarket session formed inside the previous day's regular DR session, known as the DR range contraction model. Price will most likely get squeezed into one direction before making its move. The previous day's regular DR session lows and highs play a crucial role in that model. I covered that several times in older videos. This is what exactly happened during the aftermarket session, where price took out the regular DR session lows and traded into the opposite direction afterwards. In the overnight DR session, price then confirmed longs. A quick look to the left helps us identify previous DR session levels that align with the current range and might help with decision making. Don't forget to check for daily gap imbalances and aftermarket gap imbalances as well. Look how they align with important areas over and over again. 1 hour later, clear signs from price that something is cooking. Price retraces back into the defining range and rejects the previous day's IDR high area, failing to close below it with the bodies. With a stop below several important levels like the daily gap imbalance, previous DR levels, the opening and closing price, this session offers a great 3R trade opportunity to target the 1.5 standard deviation level. If that's not enough, the beautiful price action delivery continued throughout the rest of the day. Since price is coming out of a DR range contraction model and the squeeze to the downside already happened, the regular DR session continued the explosive move. It confirmed longs early on, leaving a magnetic volume imbalance with the confirmation candle and previous session highs from the 7th of August perfectly aligned with that area. Price offered an easy trade right here for more than 5R, and price did what would have been expected in a DR range expansion model. The 1 standard deviation level has absolutely been smashed, and both the overnight and regular DR session gave crystal clear trading opportunities to take as a DR basic trader. Get to the point of this price action reading and you'll become unstoppable. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown of August's price action on crude oil. If you want any other assets to be covered, then let me know it in the comments. Have a good trading week and see you in the next video. We're gonna take on the world.